This is actually a profession. You don't have a ceiling. I always say this. We don't have a hotel, and once you've booked it out, or a backpackers, that's your ceiling. They called me 50-50 Foxy. Everyone I was working with had a little bit of something, a goal.
Yeah.
That helped me develop my playbook.
Yeah.
I had to do the grind and the graft and the calls and the cold calls and the Saturdays and the Sundays and the nights and everything, which was frustrating. But we go for good humans, because we can mould a good human. Like, they'll learn, they're willing, there's no ego. We might get some bad offers. We might have good days, we have some bad days. Our job is obviously to communicate with them. So we spend a lot of time on what could happen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Trainer HQ podcast. And today I've got a very special guest in the Trainer HQ podcast suite, Mr. Hamish Bowman. How you going, brother?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, good to have you here. Not only brother, but my Bill, B-I-L, which stands for?
Brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law. Yeah, well, man, we've got a lot to unpack today, a lot of exciting things. We're not here to talk about, your 24 marathons that you've run, the 4 Ironmans that you've done, the fact that we both married Hungarian sisters, or the fact that in a new farm you've actually got a street named after you. Lane, isn't it? Bowman Lane?
It is. It's a short lane, but nevertheless, it's
official. It's official. Yeah. So it's on Google Maps and all the rest of it, right? So yeah, it's well official. So people can tune into our other podcast because 18 or so months ago we caught up and we reminisced on mine and your relationship over the last 20 plus years, our friendship and all the rest of it. But today is all about us taking a deep dive into really what it takes to be successful in the area of sales, which then dovetails into the area of business. And you've certainly shown that that's been the case. So, man, where do we start, hey?
It's been a journey. And even preempting any of your questions, like you just said, how long have you been, had the toolbox on, and which is residential, really sales? And it's been 2014, I pivoted and just thought, I've got to get this going, and I've had a thread of property, but not direct sales necessarily. So, I was a town planner and, I was in commercial funds management on the Eastern Seaboard, Sydney, Melbourne. And I feel like, but I thought and I had a look at, obviously looked at, casting forward. I was early 40s, so kids, all that sort of stuff. So it was probably realistically, I really had to make this work, the options. And I thought, well, this is actually a profession. You could actually make as much money as you can actually, you don't have a ceiling. I always say this. We don't have a hotel, and once you've booked it out, or a backpackers, that's your ceiling.
Yeah,
we go there. We can sell 5 things. We can sell nothing. So it's really up to you.
Yeah.
So, and I thought, I've got to back myself here. So you look around and you look at all the when you come into something new, who's doing well, and you try to get. I felt I wanted to get little bits of nuggets out of whoever I could, and actually, when I started my business plan, have you got a question for me yet?
Yeah.
Was they called me 50-50 Foxy, because I was throwing myself onto all these agents, and was basically happy to take less money, but I was taking their little bits of nugget. Everyone I was working with had a little bit of something, a gold.
Yeah.
That helped me develop my playbook.
Yeah, in your skill set.
My skill set.
Yeah.
So
it's a powerful one, and just for everyone tuning into that, the 50-50 is commission. So if you got a commission, which is 100% of the commission, you go in with another agent and you go 50-50 and you both work the deal. Yeah. The deal sells and ultimately both parties profit, albeit a less,
lesser, half.
So let's go back to 11 years ago then. So that's when you actually launched. And at that time, because obviously we know each other incredibly well, I watched your journey. You left at that time a high-paying job. You come from the property sector. You'd moved in and you were managing a very large chain of service stations, right? Yep. And I think you got jack of that in one way, didn't you?
Yeah. I felt like, again, there's probably a ceiling on that as well. And I felt like I just had more aspirations and goals. Financially as well. So,
but you left that high-paying job at the time, right? Young kids, all that sort of stuff. You started in property. Tell us about the beginning, what that was like in terms of what we were earning and all the rest of it.
Look, it was a debit credit situation where I think it was $500 or $600 a week, and you're on that. I think for 3 to 6 months, and fast forward, that wasn't going to pay the bills. I was going backwards, at a rate of knots. And at Ray White, they have this thing called Ray White Elite, which is, I think back then may have been $600,000 per annum. But I was the fastest person to get to Ray White Elite in the whole brand. So because I had to.
Yeah.
Wasn't there patting myself on the back.
That's right. It wasn't an option.
No,
you had no other option. It was like, all right, I've got to go for this.
Yeah. So look, it was, and look, the other thing I thought, obviously I was, middle-aged and had a lot of connections, but I found people that I thought would gravitate quickly, they watched you to make sure you were set and sitting in that space before they actually really connected with you, which I thought was frustrating, but it made sense to me because, if you're moving around a bit and then so I couldn't rely on my connections first up. I had to do the grind and the graft and the calls and the cold calls and the Saturdays and the Sundays and the nights and all that thing, which was frustrating. But I realised quickly that, the people that I thought were probably going to jump on straight away were just, polite, but were watching.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because we go back to the days when, we were training together around that area of New Farm. I'm running Peak Physique, the personal training business. You're a New Farm mover and shaker around about that time, and we used to count the number of hellos we get running around New Farm, didn't we? And
we did.
We had our little tally, our little competition there, didn't we?
You generally won that because you went down a path where you knew you had a few people there on the balcony that always wave.
Yeah. So we fast forward now. So that was what the start looked like. Now we just finished a financial year. You've had your record year. Yep. And now in the property game, there's a lot of numbers and figures and data that gets thrown around. There's like, how much did we sell in terms of total property sales? There's like, all right, how much did we make and all that sort of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, what we were speaking about prior to this was what you work on is just purely net at the end of the day. It's not, doesn't impress you like what the total is. Could you elaborate on that for everyone?
Yeah. Look, I feel the game has got quite a smoke and mirrors, and someone sold $500 million worth of property and 33 deals, and like it's hard. I find that's hard for the usual person on the street to work out what
does that even mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So a business coach taught me, like, that's great. You can make $1 million, but you got a team of 4, you got a car, you got this bloody watch, and you're making $25,000 a year.
Yeah,
which is, there's a lot of agents out there with a lot of bling who are, there's I think it's like 5%, 95 in that high earning, bracket. And there's a lot of people that are putting priorities on, looking good and that type of thing. So I think, look, it all comes back to just, again, I think what we touched on, it's focusing on, it's taken a period of time to work out the lane you can win, right? So it's like, if you're a sprinter, you're not going to win a marathon, right? And in real estate, which pocket you're going to do, which you're going to do units, you can do houses, you're going to do which price point. It takes time to work out where your personality sits, your skill set, and how you resonate with the market.
Yeah, such a powerful insight. It's exactly what we teach at Trade HQ to our clients. It's go, right, know your niche, be very clear on who am I targeting, what are their fears, concerns, frustrations, what are their problems, so I can then craft a marketing message and actually speak their language, right? And that's exactly what you alluded to. Now, let's say in the beginning, right, I'm guessing that when you're a 50-50 Foxy, when you're doing as many deals as possible, you were trying to establish what might be your niche or what might be your lane. Is that a fair assumption?
It was a fair assumption. And again, look, I came from I had a town planning degree, and I felt like, and it has, but just having that's not going to put you at the top of the tree, right? I thought that just people coming to me and with development projects, but they were going to agents had no background in that space. I'm thinking, and I'm scratching my head, going, why would he go to him? I'm
the one with the degree.
I'm with the degree, so I got some smelling salts and thought, okay, well this is just not going to just that's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So, and so look, and we change and we tweak our messaging weekly. Still, we pick up a bit of nugget. We might change a vendor report, one word, or we might pick up a report. The back end of realestate.com that we're always refining the business, like almost daily. We have a thing called scrape in our ecosystem, and we're always throwing into our WhatsApp, and it gets published at the end of the day, and we go through it in the morning, and it could be, hey, let's just have a look at this report. It could be good for our our messaging, or this new AI app's probably worth looking at.
So it's like ideas, things that pop up and go, could this be relevant? And the idea of scrape is at the end of the day, well, what are we going to keep, or what are we going to bin and just go, all right, maybe put it on ice, could come back to it later.
And like often, like just driving here, the call that you saw me at the front, there's two things I've got to do from that call, get back to that client. That goes in a scrape because I've got to be 20 of those things by the end of the day. Yeah. You can't remember all this stuff.
No.
And I think we touched on we've now got a good process that we know, and we are refining it. We've got a really good system, and a lot of it's around. There's probably less selling, and more data driven now. We're getting so much data coming into our business, coming away. And we're deciphering it now and giving it back to our clients, and
so powerful,
making decisions based on some really good data.
Yeah,
and that's, I guess, where we've drilled down on that, and we're getting recognition for that type of information, and that's allowed us to go up the price point. So we're selling $10 million properties now, which is, we wouldn't have been in that space a few years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's a couple of points I want to come back to the, I guess, the overall revenue, that part of it, but because I guess you've well and truly put yourself into that 7-figure plus profit category, which is outstanding. You said about the degree, the town planning degree and so forth, and it reminds me, like literally about 2 days ago, I'm having a conversation with Dexter, my son, your nephew, and Dexter and Harvey, who's your son. They're cousins, they're best mates. They're born like 2 weeks apart, right? They hang out, they go to the gym together every day. They're both in grade 10. And Dex, we're talking about sales. And Dexter is a fucking chief negotiator, right? He negotiates everything at our place, right? And I've said to him for many years, I go, mate, when you're ready, I'm going to get you on the team here at Trainer HQ because you're going to fucking kill it, right? So anyway, we're talking about sales, and I've planted the seed a few times. I said it could be something for consideration, because when you as you alluded to, sales, one of maybe the only profession in the world where your earning capability is uncapped, right? Limitless, right? The only other way you can earn more is to run your own business, I guess, from my perspective. So anyway, we're speaking about this, and he was asking me about degrees because we're also talking about university and all the rest of it. He goes, okay, so Dad, in doing sales, and he's looked at, we've looked at remote sales, we've looked at real estate, just and these are all just ideas in passing. And he said, so hold on, do I need to do a degree? And I said, no, you don't. He goes, what's the qualification? I said, well, here's some minimum standards. Oh, okay, so I don't have to go to university. He goes, what about someone who does go to university? Are they in a better position than someone that doesn't? I said, well, if I'm hiring someone in sales, I don't give a flying fuck if they went to university or not. What do I want? I want the person who's got the skill set, who's got the attributes and all the rest of it. And it plays perfectly into what you said. It's like, at the end of the day, are you the right person, right fit, and have you got the attributes to be a winner in that space?
Look, I think I've seen both sides of it. Like, for example, when I went into Ray White at New Farm, I think every lead agent, funnily enough, had a degree.
Yeah, gotcha.
Which was interesting. But some of the best agents in the world don't have a degree, and they're just, they're weapons.
Yep.
I don't think there's not the perfect model there.
No.
So, I mean, interesting enough, I was picking up my dry cleaning day before yesterday, and the lady said, hey, can I ask you a question? You're in real estate. My son's just thinking about, he's been offered a job with Harcourts down south somewhere, but he's just trying to work out if he takes that job or he goes and does a degree. And he's like 17, 18, 18, first year out of school sort of thing. I said, well, look, he could probably do both. He can do the degree and work as a
100%.
He can do Saturdays, he can part-time, whatever, get on the phones. Like there's, but if he's got the option and he's got the time to do it. I recommended going do a degree, but he can still do do some tasks in real estate, and make some money.
So powerful. We spent a whole podcast talking about kids and their pathways, because both Soph and Dex are also completing their certs in fitness, which will make them qualified personal trainers before the end of high school.
Yeah, nice.
And, again, we're going, you could, through our training, I can show you how to do $2,000 a week or greater while still doing your degree, right? If that's something you want to pursue. So anyway, a whole nother podcast. Let's go back to you. 7-figure plus in terms of profitability. Tell me a bit about the structure right now. What does it look like in 2025? You've got a great team around you.
Yep. Team's important, obviously, number one. Look, we go for good humans, because we can mould a good human. Like, they'll learn, they're willing, there's no ego.
Degrees or no degrees?
Interesting. Most of our team hasn't got degrees.
Yeah.
And again, like, it's not the first question I ask. You know, it's, as I said, I like to have someone that it's so intimate, our job. We sit there side by side, belly to belly, cars. Yeah, we go to listing presentations. So you got to get on with your team with us. Like, it's real. It's so, again, so, and then I find that everyone's got different skill sets. You don't want 5 of me. You don't want 5 of, the other people. So, and like, again, in our game, I'm sure it's in your game, I've seen introverts be really, really good salespeople. Like, they don't need to be the big chest bangers. Yeah. How good am I? The peacocks.
Quite often, and I'm generalising here, but quite often those people can do fuck all, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of them floating around, and they're at that 80% with the car and and not making a lot of money. That makes it feel good, unfortunately. But I'd rather come back to a nice bank account, and not have that haze of worrying about money. But so in terms of structure, obviously you got your salespeople. Social media is big now. We've got social media people. We've got really good EA that runs all our diaries, runs our WhatsApps for us, runs our calendars, and then got a contracts lady. Contracts, they're obviously super important. Settlements, that type of thing. So look, we ourselves, big isn't beautiful. We found the lane. We do a slightly lower volume, but a really high touch point for our client. They'll hear from us all the time. We say, this is going to be really intimate. You're going to hear from us all the time. We hate seeing a message or a call or an email from one of our clients saying, "Oh, what's happening out there, guys?" That kills us. That's a knife in the heart. We just do not want to see that. So at 7 o'clock every morning, we hit our owners up morning. Could be like, great day today if we've got nothing to say. Sometimes it's just like, and this is, we're already saying how the week looks like. We're saying, like, weather's looking good tomorrow. Like, I always say you got to put yourself in our clients. What are they thinking? We've got to be ahead of that thought process. So they're already thinking about the weekend. Is it raining? Is it not? Like, sometimes, hey, look, it's actually going to be, it's 100%. We've got the towels. Don't worry about it. We've got 4 umbrellas. We've got the blower. Like, we're this sounds basic, but they appreciate it. It's empathy in our game. You got to feel like, and we're not running 100 listings on a Saturday because we don't feel like we can do the job properly.
And this goes back to your lane, right? So you mentioned you've found the lane. So how would you describe the lane?
It's a high price point, lower volume, high touch point, higher price point, more data, more information. Be the strategic advisor, not the cheesy agent.
Yeah.
So
boutique.
Yeah, boutique. But we've got a model that we can drop into anywhere. We just signed a property for Stradbroke Island yesterday. Like, it's the geographic patch in our views is gone. Like, we can.
Gotcha. Okay. So no longer it's, hey, I just own New Farm Tenerife or whatever.
No.
It's like you've spread.
Yeah. So, in the last few months we've sold Moggle, Bellbarry, Ascot, Clayfield, New Farm Tenerife. Let's say Clayfield.
And for anyone tuning in from different parts of the country or whatever, New Zealand, we have a big following. So it's like we're talking about a greater than 50-kilometre radius there, right? So it's a huge area.
So look, the science is you've only got about a 17% chance of having the buyer come from the suburb you're selling in. So you want to be saying to your sellers and seeing that, okay, we've met you at Paddington. Have you considered this house over in Clayfield?
Yeah, gotcha.
So we're running buys.
17% of people will repurchase in the same suburb. Yeah, wow.
So only. So, again, that's a pretty good statistic we use when we're up against the local agent.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, okay.
Well, I guess the beauty is what it does. It also opens up the buyers or the prospect's mind to the fact of, oh, hold on, if that's what over 80% of people are doing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, maybe that's what we should be doing.
Yeah. Well, that resonated with you, that number, right?
Yeah.
So that's an example of us and our data.
Yeah.
Like an agent. Oh, look, we're in a good suburb, mate. This will sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
That's just so.
That's cheese.
Well, this is a cracker that's full of cheese.
So this is an example of how to sell without selling, right? You're not trying to be overly salesy. There's nothing about that which is salesy, right? No. It's data driven, but what it does, it invokes a response, it invokes an emotion, it invokes someone to potentially ask the question, right? Yeah. So powerful. Back to the 7-figure agent, right? So just so we're clear, 7 figures of profitability. We've taken out all the expenses. How many? Like, let's say in Brisbane, for example. I know you don't have everyone's data and you don't have their P&Ls and access to their Xero accounts, but how many agents do we think might be out there, and where would you kind of be situated and ranked in amongst all that?
Look, there's probably only a handful. In terms of ranking, probably top 10. I'm sort of in that conversation as a prestige agent that comes up. And we already know who we're pitching against. There's probably 4 or 5 people that you're up against. And I generally say they're a good agent. I'm not the guy that says, hey, look, he's or she's got issues.
Yeah.
So look, they're very capable. This is probably what I could do for you better at the end of the day. So, but look, in terms of money, look, again, like you get to the point that the big agencies, they rank you, but again, it's in gross commission, so you're never quite sure. And that's gross before you split with other agents and before you give it to the franchise and everything. So it's a big number, and that's I stopped looking at those because I don't feel even like it means anything to anyone other than it looks like a big number. It just looks a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas,
so if you're sitting inside a sales team, inside an agency, then potentially that ranking system may be quite relevant. Yeah. But the fact that you are now independently running your own business, it's a company, it's an organisation. What do you care about? You care about the bottom line at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, and again, that lets us, we're investing in the business. We've got a lot of, it's the exciting part of that is that we're putting money into, we've just set up a prestige rent roll. We've just doubled down on our website. We've just signed up on an AI program. We're in due diligence on another business. So we're, the machine's going. And the exciting part of the profit is that we can start, building, where we want to divert the interest, or property related, of course. Yeah, so cool. Let's go wider than Brisbane now. Let's go, Gold Coast, Sydney. There's some big dogs out there in the property game. What any estimates on what we think some of the biggest dogs might be doing in Australia? Yeah, 10 plus for sure. 10 million plus. And that's net. Someone mentioned to me the other day. It's
hard to live off, but it's a start, isn't it?
It's a start. It'll pay the bills. But it's interesting enough, and observing the cream of the crop. There's a particular agent in Melbourne that I do track, and he has. You always think database. You want the biggest and best database, biggest beautiful. He's gone the other way, so he only deals with 300 people, but they're all billionaires in Melbourne. He knows their wife's name, he knows the kids, he knows the birthdays, and then he sells most of the big end stuff, the $50 million trophy to $100 million trophy stuff. So I've actually taken a bit of that, and I just got off the phone. I was a few minutes late with my real estate coach, and we just had a session on refining that. So the business has got, I think, a 15,000 person database, but I've segmented off a part of it,
a small portion of that.
I've got a spreadsheet daily that I'm putting into my big dog list.
Yeah.
segue.
This is your niche within inside a niche, right?
Yeah, niche was, and it's I enjoy that. Like yesterday, we had a top 100 2025 rich list Australia person interstate flies in to view a property. Got a buyer's agent, fully confidential. Signing non-disclosures and confidentiality agreements. So can't say too much other than the private jet, and it's we're talking to limousines were ordered, dietary requirements, and the dietary requirements were specific.
Yeah, wow.
So we practiced how we would drive into the property, and like with the limousine driver, we were noting like we didn't want to stammer. We wanted to make it the most beautiful experience for this person. And he had the most amazing folder presented to him. We didn't just do paper. The quality of the paper that we gave him was the best you can get. Everything was gleaming, right? But again, not in a cheesy way. We went straight into data. He was a data guy.
Yeah.
So he loved it, and we had square meter rates. We had everything down for him because we'd done the due diligence on what he likes. So and that was a fun, slightly stressful, experience because you've got to be on.
Yeah.
But that part of it gives you that, the excitement. But saying that, I was just talking to the business coach. We just signed up $1 million unit in New Farm yesterday, which I said to my coach, I said, I could sort of sense that the team went, oh yeah, $1 million, that's not exciting. But I said, guys, look at this thing. You're opposite New Farm Park. This is beautiful. And look at that street. You've got, there's $100 million worth of property there. There's your pipeline for the next bloody 6 months here.
That's right. By the cheapest house in the best street, the best location, right?
Yeah. And look, and again, like $1 million unit in New Farm, that's where a big body of inquiry and people, and they own property. So it's we sort of had to refresh ourselves on where we're at.
Let's not get too ahead of our game here. But
but that was a client had gone and bought a $5 million one per floor in Tenerife, and this was one of his investment properties. And again, people say, do you take on the cheap stuff? I mean, $1 million, right? It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the fact is, you can't really get a house in New Farm for $2 million. It hurts to say that.
Yeah.
You probably can't get anything here. Like, have you considered Kalinga or whatever suburb it is, right? Respectfully. So the market's changing, and the average price points are going up. Brisbane's a good news story, obviously. There is, it's interesting, probably for your audience, there has been commission compression. There's been some tightening on fees because particularly if we've got
when you say commission compression, what do you mean specifically? Commissions are getting lower?
You're getting lower. Because if you think about it, again, this is the segue to what we're talking about. Our average price point's gone up. So 2.5% of or 3% of 800 grand, now 2.5% of 3.3. It turns into a big number.
Big difference.
It's a big difference. So, and Sydney and Melbourne have already compressed somewhat because their prices have always been higher. But Brisbane's catching up. Brisbane's just taken over Melbourne as the second highest median price behind Sydney. So if we get a Sydney or a Melbourne seller, they're not used to talking anything with a 2%.
Gotcha. So they're 1 point. Yeah, gotcha.
So because that's where that market's it's more mature, Yeah. But Brisbane, so we're always, for us, we don't get into a big commission conversation as we have to, because I feel like the seller doesn't pay until they get the price they want, right? So they don't need to sign the contract if you're not happy or whatever. And generally they're very happy. We don't really have to have that conversation. But watching the market as the price point goes up, it's inevitable that the percentages will come down.
Yeah, gotcha. And that's the way that's trending right now.
It's trending,
yeah. Well, how does the current interest rates, have now taken a clip, right? So now we're sort of trending potentially the other way. How's that going to impact prices and that from your perspective?
Look, it's more about the momentum and the inertia in the market and the good news than 25 basis points on a mortgage. You know, it's not thousands of dollars on average.
Yeah,
it's hundreds
it's a
of
small
dollars.
clip.
It's not a lot. It's just that, and it looks like it's trending the right way for the medium term. So it's more about people can see that, you know, that they're not going to get hit with higher interest rates.
Yeah.
So, and that's reverberated through the market. Brisbane's a great story at the moment. We've got positive migration.
Yeah.
We've had a supply issue. They haven't, through the whole COVID and the construction crisis, they haven't built enough dwellings. You know, we've got the Olympics. Brisbane is at the moment a really good place to be. So, probably haven't asked that question, but I see, you know, I've probably got 20 more years in this game.
Yeah. It's shown no signs of slowing down.
No shown.
Yeah. Next part of that question is then now we've got the first, is it just for first home buyers, you know, like 5% deposits and so forth?
Mm-hmm.
Again, is that a positive sign, or is that a way just for prices to get driven up?
Mm-hmm.
Or
I had a coffee with our I guess one of our preferred brokers, mortgage brokers, and that whole 5% deposit and all that help at that front end at the lower price point first home is big. You know, the market's grabbing onto it. So look, the challenge is for these buyers, if you're buying something for $700,000, where are they buying? It's not easy.
So there's a limit on that, like in terms of the 5%, like it's up to a certain price point, is it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But like I was only saying, a typical 2-bed apartment in a 3-story walk-up with 2-bed, 2-bath, 1 car, you know, in Coorparoo or
somewhere in the city,
somewhere in the city, was $550,600. Now they're $800,000. That market's jumped.
Yep.
In the last 18 months significantly. So, because people are getting interest rates, more people in the market, people, that's that entry level stuff. So that's gone up. So that market's been buoyant.
It's quite hot.
Up. Yeah, it's quite hot. I mean, think about our kids, right? You know, how are they going to do it?
That's right. Yeah.
So get them on training people at $2,000 a week quickly, I reckon, and put it away. But anyway, look, it's very fluid. And it's one of the things I like about our game. Like, there's no day's the same.
Yeah.
People have this. They teach you to have your perfect day and your perfect week, which is great. There's some non-negotiables for sure. But that call I had out there was a guy who had been talking to me, an investor developer, but he's got an expression of interest closing today. He was refining his pricing, like literally. So I couldn't hang up on him.
Yeah.
Because he's putting an offer in on a property that today. So we were his feasibility was on the edge. Because what's happening at the moment is that the market's going up as it's re-rating so quickly. We're not using recent or relevant sales because to make things work, you've actually got to go higher than what.
Wow. Yeah.
So usually you could say
build some margin into the future.
Yeah. So traditionally it can be risky, but at the moment there's no signs that the market's, so that's the only way. You are doing your feasibility on sales that haven't actually happened.
Yeah, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, let's talk. Let's move back to the business side of it. You obviously, we can get to this later. Like, you're obviously a fan of getting mentoring, coaching, help and support. You got a real estate coach, you got a business coach, something we do at Trainer HQ, something you're a big fan of. Let's talk about skills and attributes that you've seen. So, of the highest performers that you've studied, people you've leveraged off. What are some of the skill sets that you've seen or qualities that you see of these really high sales performers?
I think it's consistency. Like, I see, I'm thinking the best agents, they roll up. I see they do their own podcasts, I see that they're doing things on a Monday morning. They're doing the same thing. And I feel like they've got a rhythm, which I can see. And it's, I look at the few really good agents, and they've got completely different skill sets. The number one agent in Sydney makes 130 phone calls a day, and his average time on the phone's a minute 17.
Yeah, wow.
Right? And he's the number one. He doesn't ring you and say, how's the day?
Yeah.
He's ringing you about something specific.
Yeah.
You can actually pay to watch him make his calls. He's been the number one agent in Australia for 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
A full machine.
That's cool. Full cyborg, hey? 130 calls a day, and that's a non-negotiable. I imagine he must block out time to do that.
Yeah. He does, yeah. It's I think you can book in and watch him from 8 till 10 or something like that. Like it's for 45-minute blocks you can watch. So, and then there's the agent that's just working the contacts, and there is the agent that spends more time out of the office and works I wouldn't say the lunches, but is working that more of the relationship thing and deep. It's just I'm probably a blend, to be fair. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be spending more of my time on a golf course, or it's not me.
Yeah.
But again, I've picked up the little things that I feel like that I can do. There's a certain amount of calls I know we make, and now we get probably 75 to 80% of our business is incoming. It's a referral or an attraction agent, and that's what you actually want to be at the end of the day. But I also feel like I want to know that if I go away for 2 months, which I don't, but if I go away, the machine keeps going. So there is a prospecting system. There is we've got daily activities.
Yeah, there's a process behind that.
Process behind. We do a market report. We're always doing a just listed, a just sold. Social media's going out on the daily. So we never know which one of our activities is going to touch you as an owner but we know that because we don't know whether you prefer to read or you're on social media. We don't know, to that level. So, but we'll get you some shape or form if your property's on your radar.
Yeah, and we constantly talk about it, and those that have been tuning into Trainer HQ will know we talk about the marketing ecosystem. So it's like, if I come into your business and I have an interaction with it, what'll happen? Well, as part of HP Properties, I'm going to follow you on socials. I'm going to get you a weekly email that comes out. I'm going to get some sort of interaction, follow-up phone call, SMS, DM, whatever it might be, however we've connected. So what happens is I walk away, and although I might have come to an open home, I might not have purchased, I'm on the database, and what am I seeing pop up everywhere? Well, it's you guys, right? And anyone who's in business needs to construct this marketing ecosystem so that they are seen. And what does it do? It puts you at front of mind. It puts you as the expert, as the obvious best choice, so that when the time is right, well, who am I going to reach out to?
Yeah, and I think on that, like the data's, we get so much. We got a lot of people coming into our system. Like if we can go, okay, we've got doctors as categories, or we've got high net worths, we've got price range categories. So the more we can drill into our data. We can't remember 10,000 people. So, Brad, we met you at Hurston. We know you own that property, but interesting enough, your 2 kids are off to gymnastics. So we'll make as many notes, because that little bit of resonation, people go, oh, how do you remember that? Like, it's just we've got all these subcategories in our CRM to help us, because if you're just going through making calls, the guys are making a just listed call down the street. You can't remember 35 streets in 8 different suburbs, right?
No.
So we've got virtual assistants working right now on our database. We're always tweaking it. I'm just trying to think we're always the obvious one. We're always attaching properties, so because we want owners, because owners will sell, so we get data to come in. So we scrape through the names and just. Now we can say, oh, Brad Shepherd, he owns a property, and then we talk to you as an owner rather than just a person.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work in our game that people probably just don't see as an agent.
Yeah.
I think I would put up a sign, go on realestate.com, but it's just you can do so much, But I also feel like you can just make it too messy. It's at the end of the day, you prospect, you list, you negotiate, you sell, and you repeat. That's it. That's our game. Keep it simple. There's a lot of stuff you can do, like what we're doing now.
Yeah.
That we're doing this for a reason, which is great. But at the end of the day, we've just got to keep to our rhythm. And we know how many properties we need to have on the market. We know how many we've got to sign up. Like we signed up 2 yesterday, which is great.
Yep.
It's all pipeline's very important to us. Be like your business, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's critical, right? So there's all those various stages, and you got to make sure that you're very clear on each and every one of them. Yes, let's go back to the CRM, because that part's so important, and those tuning into us know that we've got MXP available. And how much do you leverage off that CRM, and how important is it? How important is it to the business and the success of the business?
It's a good question, because you would know this. I'm probably not a very diligent person in that sort of field. I'm not good at sitting in front of a computer for too long and entering data, and so it's taken me a while to acknowledge that it's very important. B, to nurture it, and then to see how to actually work it properly.
Yeah.
Because initially I thought I want all these people. Then you work out, well, hold on, you got 15,000 people. You're not talking to 12,000. You're actually not doing yourself a favour here. You think they're not hearing from you properly, you know. So there's in our game there's a lot of CRMs. They're all basically do the same thing. And again, virtual assistants now are making our job easy. Yeah, it makes me feel good, because then we can see them. We go in there and they're working away.
Yep, doing their thing.
And you see them on the screen just going through. So the CRM's important, but it's how you use it, you know. And there's a lot of functions, to be fair, of our CRM I don't use. You know, for me, I want our CRM. I don't want to make the notes. We've always got Price Finder, RP data, because I'm calling you.
Yeah,
I want to know what you own. You know, what's transacted, and then basically, recent data. And I'm often looking at you thinking, okay, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm looking at what you're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of time if I haven't met you, first of all, I say, guys, what does old mate do for a living? He's a professor at the Queensland University. Okay. Yeah. What does he own? Does the wife work? So at our level,
yeah, you can walk in with a lot of knowledge.
A lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You know, and like part of our game's rapport. You know, so you don't want to walk in with nothing. Like we can talk running shoes at the front door, or a bike, I've actually found we haven't had much of a conversation on this, but as you go up the price point, horse ownership is big. So I've actually recently invested in a few horses just to get that rapport going at the door.
I love it.
In the house. They're very proud, a lot of these horses. They've got their horses and trophies sitting along part of the house. So
let's talk marketing, brand presence, and so forth. So do you say, to get the numbers right, sort of 75 to up to 80% of your business is coming from reach outs, like people reaching out to you? Which is huge, right? That's massive. So was there a tipping point? So back at some time, you probably would have been the other way around, where a lot of business was coming from your outreach, your prospecting, and so forth. How did that happen, and what do you think were some of the catalysts?
I think it was, you need raving fans in our game. So the more raving fans you've got out in the marketplace, the more you're going to get the feedback. So it's actually time in the saddle. To be fair, you got to earn that. You can't. That's not going to happen overnight. I mean, some of these guys come out, they want to be attraction agents in a couple of years. It doesn't happen. You need the time. You can accelerate it for sure. Yeah. But you've got to, at the end of the day, you go to a restaurant. If you like it, you tell everyone, I had a great meal, you got to go there. If you have a bad meal, which you don't want, you don't want people saying that. So you work very hard to have, and that's why our model, we don't go high volume, because we want that person at the end of the day to be so happy. We might sell your property and there's 30 days before it settles. We're talking to the whole way. We're talking about your next journey. We're talking about removals, settlement coming up. Like, it's not, there's a lot of touch points there for us. So it's getting that army of people that that refer you in at the end of the day. It is, and look, you don't, a lot of these people you're not going to go and have a beer with, but you just do the right thing.
Yeah, you develop a strong connection, a strong relationship with them and so forth. Yeah, very powerful. What about the media side of it? Because that's an area where you've in the last few years you've really doubled down on and you've gone for it. So just give us some insights into where the change happened there and what was it, some of the decisions.
I think from my point of view, obviously the further you go up the price point, the more journalists and the media are interested in the product. So when we list anything now, we send out a press release to all the majors, online and still paper. And again, you learn. It might just be the most expensive house. It might be a house with a story. It could be an ex-church or something, or an old post office, or it could. So I've learned the journalists deal in a particular way. They're their own sort of. You learn over time what they want, and you learn how to sort of pitch it to them. Because if you get a free publication, an editorial in the Weekend Australian, and your owner sees that, they're off telling their whole family.
Yeah,
right? and all their friends at golf and whatever. You've got raving fans straight away.
Yeah.
How did you get this, Hamish? So it's and that's one of the parts of the business I enjoy.
Yeah.
They'll ring you. Like, I'm in the car and I've got a couple of my team members and so from the Australian rings, and they go, and hey, what's happening with the market there? Bang, boom. Like, it's again, takes time.
Yeah. And you've obviously coming from an angle, like you said, you want to find the hook, you want to find the interesting story. It's not just from a sales perspective. No. It's like you got to find the quirky thing that's that's the standout, right?
Yeah. And look, the interesting part of that is a lot of times now, up the higher price point, sellers and buyers want to be confidential, so it's hard because we want to scream the sale from the rafters, and they say, hey, no social media, we don't want the price disclosed, keep our name off it. So I recently sold a house on the water in New Farm for a Tenerife for a current very high profile Brisbane-based billionaire, and confidentiality was very important, and we pulled that off very successfully. So again, there's a way to do that, and because you can get in trouble quickly, by just saying something. If you say something to a journalist, or they have done their research, and the story comes out, like,
that can come back to bite you on the bum. Yeah.
So, I've had those calls. Did you say something to? No, I didn't. So you've got to. It's all about. We spend a lot of time either. We call it like a set to sell. We have a face-to-face meeting and run through all what can happen.
Yeah.
Say, look,
contingency plan. Here's all the worst case scenarios, and
So look, we might get some bad offers. We're going to have good days. We're going to have some bad days. Our job is obviously to communicate with you. So we spend a lot of time on what could happen, and generally, we say this is but this is sort of what we're hoping will happen, and a lot of the time we're getting it down to what we say will happen. Yeah, doesn't always turn out that way, but we're getting better at what we're saying we'll do.
Yeah, love it. I guess that's summary on the property market. I think you've pretty much summarised it, but we're Brisbane based, and Brisbane market is hot, right? It's been pumping for quite some time, showing no signs of slowing down, right?
No, for the reasons I explained, which is great. You're in a suburb near where the
Victoria Park. We sort of mapped it out. We go. Our house in Hurston there, which as me and you've spoken about, we call it BBD, Brisbane's best deck, big 80 square metre hua, which faces north. Oh,
breezes,
glorious!
Elevated.
It's less than a kilometre away from the new Olympic Stadium that they're building, and so we've definitely had that conversation. When you come around in closer to the Olympics and you give us the eye-watering offer from the billionaire, we'll definitely we don't have to be confidential around that.
No. That's good. We can.
That'll be a front page of the Australian.
Yeah. But look, market's all good. I think for us is I've said it a few times before. We'll shimmy as the market. The interesting thing, having been in the GFC, that was sort of a toxic international thing that hurt us. So we can't be bulletproof enough to think that this is going to go on forever. Because I don't want to sound negative, and I say this in front of my team, but hey guys, at some point things are going to slow down.
There can be a correction.
Yeah, there's going to be a correction.
Yeah.
It may be a war. We don't know. If something could still come at us and pause us. So we've always got to be aware, and at the moment, a lot of the business is coming our way, but I like the younger agents that are working with us to do all the basics, because they're going to have to pick up the phone more, and do all those basics, and don't think it's super easy, because it won't be forever.
Yeah. And that's a message for any business owner, anyone tuning into this. It's like, regardless of the industry you're in, where it's at, it's like you've got to do the basics consistently, and then set up your system, set up your process, because you've got to be ready, because when it's going well, happy days, but you've got to be prepared for those moments when you get punched in the face.
And they're going to happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. Mate, great insights. Congratulations on what you've achieved, where you've set yourself, the business you've built, obviously the figures, the numbers speak for themselves. You've taken yourself to that next level, which is super cool. So, I mean,
you touched on the branding side of it.
Yeah.
I've invested a lot of time and money into the actual brand, an external company, does it all.
You've gone big on that.
Yeah, we've gone large on it. We had a brand elevation probably 6 months ago. We felt like the market was copying us, so we've gone again and tweaked the brand again, which is really good and exciting. So we're changing our flags again. We're changing our signs, subtle tweaks. So we're just getting ahead of the market all the time. So the brand side of it excites me too. So we're always pushing that, making it sharp. Rarely a day would go past without me saying, hey, just love what you're putting out there. So we spend a lot of time, tweaking the messaging. So it's spot on.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And once again, for anyone, what are the takeaways from that? Well, what you're doing, you don't have to be over every single channel at the beginning, right? What you need to do is you need to, again, pick your lane, go, all right, where is my target market hanging out? If they're more likely going to be on, say, Instagram, it's going to, whether it's where I'm going to lead into, but it's like what you do is you can, inside your lane, you can go, what is best practice with my resources, with the skills I've got, and it really comes down to what we say for a lot of people, it's resources or resourcefulness.
Yep.
Right now, you've set yourself up so the business has got you in a spot where you've got a lot of resources, which is cool. However, you didn't always have that. So it was, how do I get resourceful enough, right, to make this stuff happen?
Yep.
Super cool. So, yeah, I guess if we finish off there, once again, congrats, man. Great to have you along. Thanks for sharing the insights, and look forward to just getting into the multi millions for the next podcast, eh?
Looking forward to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hamish Bowman.
Thanks, Bradley.